What if the rise of cancer and metabolic disease wasn't random, but predictable? What if these illnesses weren't part of aging, but part of our diet? Today on The Right Slant, we're breaking down a simple but powerful idea. For hundreds of thousands of years, humans lived without widespread cancer, diabetes, or obesity. Then, within just the last 100 years, everything changed. We're going to explore the metabolic connection between sugar and cancer, the shocking fact that the definitive study eliminating sugar has never been done, and why. And yes, we'll responsibly cover the anecdotal stories of people who eliminated sugar and used fasting protocols and saw unexpected improvements. This is a deep dive into biology, history, and common sense. Let's get started. Humans have existed for roughly 300,000 years. Across nearly all that time, our diet was simple: meat, fish, organs, seasonal plants, and almost no processed carbohydrates. Cancer existed, yes, but it was rare, typically slow-growing, and almost always found in older individuals. Archaeological studies of Egyptian mummies, indigenous tribes, early settlers all show the same thing: metabolic disease was barely present. For most of human history, annual sugar intake was measured in teaspoons, not pounds. Our bodies evolved in a world where sugar was a luxury, not a lifestyle. Everything changed between 1900 and today. We industrialized food, refined sugar, refined flour, seed oils, preservatives, all mass-produced and added to nearly every product on the shelves. Sugar intake skyrocketed from a few pounds per year to over 100 pounds per person per year in the US. And right alongside that, cancer, obesity, diabetes, heart disease, autoimmune disorders, fatty liver, Alzheimer's. These diseases rose together in perfect lockstep with the rise of sugar and processed carbs. Here's where biology becomes impossible to ignore. Cancer cells consume glucose faster and more aggressively than normal cells. This isn't speculation, it's known as the Warburg effect, discovered nearly 100 years ago. PET scans, one of our main cancer detection tools, literally work by tracking radioactive sugar. Tumors light up because they devour glucose. When we flood the body with sugar and processed carbs, we create chronically high insulin, inflammation, mitochondrial stress, growth signaling pathways that cancer loves. Now, to be fair, and this is important, not all cancers rely only on sugar. Some can use glutamine or fatty acids. So eliminating sugar is not a proven cure. But the biology is clear. Sugar and insulin create the metabolic environment where many cancers thrive. You would think, with everything we know, that science would run a massive, well-controlled study eliminating sugar and carbohydrates to see how cancer responds. But here's the uncomfortable truth: that study does not exist. Not at scale. Not with proper controls. Not with long-term follow-up. Why? Because pharmaceutical companies can't patent a diet. Food companies don't want sugar implicated. NIH funding prioritizes drugs, not non-profitable cures. Diet trials are expensive, difficult, and offer no return on investment. And medical schools simply do not teach metabolic oncology. The system has no incentive to test whether eliminating sugar slows cancer, even though the biology screams for investigation. Now, we need to be responsible and clear. Anecdotes are not clinical proof, and they should never replace medical treatment. Cancer is serious, and no diet should be seen as a guaranteed cure. But ignoring anecdotal evidence is just as irresponsible. Researchers in metabolic medicine, Dr. Thomas Seyfried, Dr. Jason Fung, Dr. Walter Longo, have documented cases where people who eliminated sugar and processed carbs, adopted ketogenic diets, and used controlled fasting protocols saw slower tumor growth, declining cancer markers, or better chemotolerance. Some reported tumor shrinkage. Some reported cancer stalling for months or years longer than predicted. Are these proof? No. Are they scientifically nothing? Also no. They align with known metabolic mechanisms, and they strongly suggest that this area deserves far more research than it receives. Look at the timeline. Look at the biology. Look at the historic health of human populations. If cancer and metabolic disease exploded only after modern diets appeared, if populations eating ancestral diets have little or no chronic disease, if metabolic pathways explain exactly why cancer thrives today, then the simplest explanation is probably correct. Humans changed their diet and their health collapsed. This isn't fringe. This is history, physiology, epidemiology, and common sense all pointing to the same truth. Here's the honest bottom line. Cancer thrives in high glucose, high insulin environments. Modern diets create that environment. Sugar and refined carbs drive metabolic disease. Eliminating these foods improves health across nearly every measurable category. The lack of a definitive study doesn't mean sugar doesn't matter. It means the system doesn't want to know. This is not about fear. It's about recognizing the metabolic truth we've ignored for a century. If you're finding value in this breakdown, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss future deep dives here on The Right Slant. Cancer didn't suddenly appear. Our environment, especially our diet, changed rapidly while human biology stayed the same. While we wait for institutions to explore metabolic cancer research seriously, the patterns are already clear. Modern food created modern disease. And understanding that truth is the first step to taking back control of our health. Thank you for watching The Right Slant. Stay informed, stay empowered, and we'll see you in the next video.